Also, I took it a step further and we had a conversation after they qualified, before they signed the agreement, where I'd send them the agreement template and say, hey, I want to get together and meet with you to go through the rent talk before you sign to make sure that everything is on the same page. And we would literally walk through this document and it would weed out some people right in the final hour. Because when you look through this and you start talking to them and saying, hey, you're an important part of the business. We're so proud of what we do. We want to give you great housing needs. This is our goal. What's up, everyone? This is Niyi Adewale, and I am the host of the Ekabo Home Financial Freedom Mastermind group. This group meets every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, and the members of this group are committed to achieving financial freedom while we're still young enough to actually enjoy it. So in this podcast, you're going to get VIP access to the conversations that we have about different forms of investment and ways to get your dollars working harder for you than you worked to first acquire those dollars. This week, we are joined by the Mastermind group, and specifically two mainstays within that group. My cousin, Francesco, who is a newer investor looking to buy his first home in the DMV area, as well as Marcus Mayfield, who does a lot within the Atlanta market. I would label him as an entrepreneur that is in the rental arbitrage space from a short-term rental perspective, that's in the event space, among other things, credit repair, and is a steward for all of those above. So hope that you enjoy this episode. Some of the topics we talk about are virtual assistants, and I actually gained a lot of inspiration from this message and from this episode to the point where I'm actually searching for some virtual assistants right now. We talk about real estate in the DMV area, and we also talk about how to manage long-term tenants and how to weed out nightmare tenants before that becomes an issue. Enjoy. Marcus, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good. How you doing?
I am super good. Literally, I made those updates to my Airbnb last week. Thank you for that knowledge, man. I didn't even know that you could switch it to 1 day for during the week and 2 days for the weekend.
Oh yeah. You know, I know every app is different. I know you can do it on Wheelhouse, but I'm considering moving some things around with Wheelhouse and your portal to see what's the best one to use. So I'll probably be switching soon.
Hey, fair enough. I hadn't even I've heard of your portal, but Wheelhouse is not one that I'd heard of. I just made the change in Airbnb itself, and it transferred over to the Smart B&B app.
Okay. And with Smart B&B, how are you booked a majority of the time?
Yeah, it's pretty good. So winter time is always a little bit tough, but I posted on there as well as VRBO, and I've been consistently booked about 7 to 8 times a month now. So of course you got the 4 weekends, right? But now I'm getting people booking during the week, and it's starting to pick up for January and February, which I'm so thankful for.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I hear a lot of those apps like Smart B&B, Wheelhouse, Price Labs, and a couple other ones. They're all geared to something different. Some are geared for reviews, some are geared for bookings, some's geared for revenue. So I want to kind of try them all out, and I'm more so concerned about the revenue.
Mm-hmm. Hey, come on now. The plot does what counts, you know? Yeah. Were you able to get that one booking that we were talking about before? The long booking, did you take that?
I know my Buckhead one is booked until the 31st. She ended up staying for a week and asked to extend. And I told her I would hold it for a day for her to get her funds together. And after that day, she had her funds together and booked for the rest of the year. So
nice. That's pretty cool, man. And
we just picked another one up, and it's right across the street from Grady. And I went to go do the tour of the other one we were supposed to pick up, but they don't have any units available until January, February, maybe.
And these, so again, you talked about it a little bit last week, but these property managers, they know that you're doing this, or no, they just don't bother you? Pretty much.
No, they don't know for sure, but they don't bother because I look for those specific things I talked about last time to make sure it's an Airbnb friendly property. In my automated messages, it also states that they're not welcome to go to the leasing office because they're not residents, they're guests of mine. So if they have any issues, reach out to me directly. and I'm working on the VA portion side of it now. So hopefully VA 24/7 to be able to answer calls when I'm sleeping.
Dude, so this is huge. This is huge. So the VA piece is something that I'm looking to do. I want a personal assistant to take some of these reoccurring tasks. So have you already started reaching out to VA companies, and are you engaged with anybody?
Yes. Whenever you get the chance,
please share.
There's a guy, he's local. He has the largest VA company in the world. Real humble, reasonable guy. And he personally, his website is called IHR Buddy. And the reason he calls it HR Buddy is because he trains his VAs. He gives them dialect training so they don't sound like they're from a foreign country. But he also trains them in whatever industry they're in, whether it's Airbnb, credit industry. He just opened up an event space, so he's training in the event space side. And he manages them. So you basically report to him and say, hey, this person's not working out for me. They're not doing what they need to do. And he'll train someone else and have someone the next day. So he's the HR side of it. He deals with the payroll, the insurance, making sure that he's keeping retention for you, making sure that they're scheduled. And so I say all of that to say I'm actually not working with him. I'm working with an individual who came up under him by the name of Brandon Shotney. And you can look him up on Instagram also. Brandon Shotney is a large videographer, but his whole company is run by VAs.
Really? Like they do all the editing and everything?
Everything. He doesn't even shoot anymore.
What?
Doesn't even pick up a camera. And he works with a lot of the people that you see on Instagram that do the large seminars in Atlanta. He's usually the guy shooting those.
This is blowing my mind because literally the whole VA thing is what can really take you to the next level and start to free up a lot of your time, in my opinion, especially when you're working through a lot of businesses like you are, Marcus. And so have you talked through cost at all, or do they list that? What does the cost look like for a VA with them?
And that's the thing. I don't know. Me knowing Brandon, he literally didn't charge me a dime. And being partnering on this, he's covering a lot of those costs. So I took down the management fee for him. He's kind of training me on this.
This is literally a conversation I was having with a couple of my homies the other day. I'm actually planning to start a podcast in 2022 based off of some of these calls and things. And of course, there's going to be consent forms, all that stuff and whatnot. But we'll get into all that. But I have one of my guys editing some stuff for me, and he is starting to look at VAs. And it's making me like, hold up, man, I need to start looking at VAs for editing at some point, but also even the management of the Airbnbs and things of that nature, because messaging is not that hard once you understand, and you can automate so much of it.
And it's developing SOPs. As long as you have the SOP.
Yeah, I need to get on this sooner rather than later.
When I was talking to him on Zoom, I'm like, what? The VA is putting the business for him. He was writing things out, doing a screen share saying, okay, I'm going to need an LLC. I'm going to need a bank account. Can you jump on that? Take care of that for me. Do that for me. And he's brainstorming, and he literally tells the lady, hey, figure it out. I need for you to figure that out. I don't know how it's going to work. Figure out how we're going to hire and how many hours we're going to put them on. And steps away. He's like, all right, next. And the VA figures it out.
That's next level. Yeah, I definitely, if you could, I just want to watch that a couple times to get it in my head and really make it a goal for 2022 to figure out how to get a VA on board. And honestly, when you think about what you can do with that time, which is build out more systems and earn more income, it's not a high cost, either of them, $1,500 or $400. That's not a high cost when you think about it. Like, hey, over here, that'd be multiple times that.
Right, exactly.
And you'd have to work through, to your point, all of the HR stuff and like, hey, you got to have time off and all the stuff that you don't deal with in other countries.
Right. He asked him, because I was asking questions. I was like, what if they're not ready? What if they're not prepared and don't know? And he was like, majority of them are college educated because college is free and they only have to pay for masters, PhDs, things like that. But he was like, a majority of them have bachelors and they get the school and they get the training that we want and don't have and have to pay for.
What's crazy about this is Francesco, who's my cousin, and I are both Nigerian, right? And we both know people in Nigeria that have master's degree, doctorates, and they can't get a job that's going to pay them more than what is the equivalent of $100, a month, right? Over there. And they would jump at something like this, $1,500 US a month, $400 US a month. to be a like this. Yeah. So I believe that, definitely believe that. And switching gears a little bit, Francesco. So when we left last time, you mentioned that you were going to do something this week. My question to you is, did you take a step toward getting some real estate?
Greetings to all, first and foremost. Yeah, so I actually emailed the lady and she didn't respond, but I do have backup. One of my homies who's from Baltimore, one of his frat brothers is kind of like well known, does a lot of real estate shit. And so he connected me with him yesterday because I've been waiting for this lady's email since, because I kind of lost her number. I was looking for it, didn't find it, emailed her. She didn't respond. So yeah, I'm about to contact dude and see what he's talking about, see how he guides me. I think he should gear me towards the right direction. So
nice.
Yeah.
And what is your criteria, right? When he reaches out, when you talk to him, what are you going to tell him you're looking for?
So my thing is, I'm looking for a place in kind of like the art district of Baltimore, like kind of like the hip areas rather than going out in the county, because I've been in the city for so long that I would rather start to invest in the city, especially with the direction in which the city's heading towards. Like I mentioned to you before earlier, a lot of people from DC are moving in. So this place is about to have a crazy turnout like Nashville. You know, it's like people have always talked about how Nashville's going to blow up, and now all of a sudden it came faster than what we expected, man. It's like, yo, everybody's like, dang, I wish I would have invested. So I'm trying to actually jump on that right now and really focus on that. And I want to tell him about how John Hopkins is giving me $15K. Like, I'm willing to put in, if I have to, a little bit more money, if I really have to. Let's say if it's kind of like a duplex, like we talked about, multi-family joint with several kitchens and shit on each, and stuff on each floor. And so that's the plan right now.
Okay. So what I heard, and I love the game plan, right? But I really heard a location. So that's part of the criteria. You've got the location down pat.
Yes.
You want to be very clear with the realtor so that they know how they can help you, right? If you kind of give them a broad range, he or she may start showing you properties that wouldn't fit kind of what you're looking for from an investment standpoint. But what you mentioned at the end there is that the duplex, something where you can have other people paying you to live there, could be beneficial. So you may want to just get clearer on that. When I was looking for my first property, I was like, hey, I want to look for it in this area. I want to have either a duplex, a triplex, or a quadplex, because I know you can still get that 3.5% down payment and get in there and still have people paying you. And that's what my realtor set me up for. So if that's similar to what you're looking for, just make sure you got that written down for him when you guys have that first conversation.
And it's really tough right now because it's like, at the same time, I don't want to overpay because I don't know the direction of the market. Baltimore has been known to be an affordable market, but the number one place I do want to stay, it's kind of expensive. So I can't really tell the direction the market is heading towards. Because even the people that are living there are like, yo, this is kind of weird. The jump was too dramatic. Something's gotta be happening. Like, even for the best or for the worst. People are leaning towards the worst right now. So
the jump has been crazy. And Marcus, I'd love to get your thoughts on this as well. But from my perspective, especially purchasing your first home and one that can potentially pay you, the way I look at it is, how much am I going to be paying per month, right? So prior to buying the home that I'm in, well, really, I've been doing house hacking for a long time. Prior to buying the home in Louisville, right? The first home that I had, I was paying $1,100 per month to live in a dope crib. I mean, Louisville's cheap, $1,100. I was living in a 2-bed, 2-bath, pool right outside. It was a nice setup, man. But long story short, I left that comfort to move into a triplex because I was able to live in one unit and collect $1,400 in rent. The mortgage was only $1,350. And so my expense went from, hey, I'm paying $1,100 per month to live somewhere. You have to pay to live somewhere, to now that $1,100 is going into my pocket. So 1,100 times 12 is a lot of money that you can use for another down payment. Same thing I did in Boston. The way it worked in Boston's crazy expensive. I was paying $1,500 a month to live with 2 roommates in a 4-bed, 2-bath, right? And I went and bought a condo. And with the condo, I had 1 roommate, and I was able to lower my living expense from $1,500 a month to a little over $1,000, right? Not as big of a jump, but that $500 a month in savings and also more comfort, reducing 1 roommate was worth it for me. It's not going to cash flow. That's why I sold it before moving down here, and I still made a little money. But that's the way I look at it when you're looking to buy your first, like, one that you're going to live in.
Right.
Does that help a little bit?
Definitely, man. Because that was like my number one worry. I wasn't sure. So yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, especially the location I'm looking at. I mentioned to you earlier, I really want to stay in a place that is kind of like well populated. It's like a revolving door with people, and a place similar to that is a college campus. We're somewhere close to college campus, but now the only issue is college students. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to think about the quality of people you're bringing into your space. So people say that they enjoy whenever families are renting their space versus having to deal with students. So what are all y'all's thoughts about that?
And before we jump in, and we're going to definitely answer that, Taurid, how you doing?
I'm all right, thanks. I finally made it.
Come on now. Hey, welcome.
Right.
Welcome. And
doing,
where
man?
are you joining us from? I know you invest in the ATL, but do you live in ATL?
I do, yeah. I live downtown Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah.
But for everybody on the call, would you mind sharing a little bit about your background and where you're from?
Well, I'm from London, England. I moved to New York 2010, and I've been in Atlanta for about 4 years. And so I literally recently went into real estate. That's what I did all of this year. And so I'm literally waiting to start getting the returns. I bought the properties this year, been renovating, but I'm not trying to flip. I'm just renting them out. I do Airbnb and bookings.com, which is quite a bit of a headache, but I'm learning. I'm still learning.
Hey,
Yeah.
You're on the right call, because Marcus is the resident expert here. He just helped me out a lot. So we'll kick it to him in a second. But first, I want to come back to Francesco's question. And you mentioned like the whole, how do you control the tenant base, who you're renting to? Mm-hmm. And Marcus, have you ever done long-term rentals before?
Yeah, hated it.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Because they probably start owing rent and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Why did you hate it?
I can't remember the name of what I did, but I was trying to sell mortgage notes.
Oh,
so
wow.
Essentially was renting out a property that I owned in Alabama, and signed the property over to someone else as they were renting it. So they were responsible for the insurance. They were responsible for taxes. I was basically the bank. My was to take that amortized note and sell it to a bank and say, I have $300,000 over the next 30 years. I'll sell it to you. This was a $30,000 house. It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It was decent for the area, not something I would live in, but the tenant didn't pay. So I didn't have rent rolls to show.
Oh, wow.
So I couldn't sell the note, and I had to cover the note. And I tried to get her out. I had to not evict her, but I had to foreclose on her, which is a longer process. Wow. So I didn't like it.
That's crazy.
So that's like a lease to own model, I want to say, Marcus. And so let me ask you a couple questions on that. Let's dig in, right? So how did you screen this?
I used an app. I can't remember the name of the app, but I will remember before this is over. But I used an app, and it basically gives them a grade. And her grade, A through F, and her grade was a C. And me and my mother, we purchased the property cash. So we had 2 to 3 months before we had to make the first monthly rent payment, and it was due the next month. So I could have continued to screen tenants, but I was like, she's the best I got so far.
Right. Oh, wow, yeah.
Let's get her in there.
So, and that's fair. So what I would say is, and I'm actually going to pull something up here. I had a different experience when I was managing my own rentals. Now I have property management, and the first property manager was terrible, but we don't got to get into that right now. The second one has been amazing. And so I'm going to share my screen. When you talk about long-term rentals, It's really all about what we just talked about before, Francesco, which is getting clear on your criteria, right? If you talk to a realtor and you say, hey, I'm looking to be in this location and I'm looking for an investment, they're going to be like, okay, they're going to show you a million houses. It's not even close, right? If you talk to a realtor and say, hi, I'm looking to get in this area, I'm looking for a duplex, triplex, or fourplex because I want the rental income to cover the whole mortgage. Okay, now I understand what you're looking for. I'm going to narrow that criteria and get it to you. And so what Marcus mentioned is using a software to kind of judge somebody, but it's similar to what you would do from an Airbnb standpoint, right? You can weed out people just by the messages they're sending and the ratings that they have. The way that I did it is I had a crystal criteria, right? One, you cannot have any past evictions on your credit report. You cannot have any criminal history. You have to have a 600 or greater credit, which is tough to do. If you don't have that 600 or greater credit, you had to have a co-signer or like your parent or somebody that has that 600 or greater credit to sign for you. Also, I took it a step further and we had a conversation after they qualified, before they signed the agreement, where I'd send them the agreement template and say, hey, I want to get together and meet with you to go through the rent talk before you sign to make sure that everything is on the same page. And we would literally walk through this document and it would weed out some people right in the final hour. Because when you look through this and you start talking to them and saying, hey, you're an important part of the business. We're so proud of what we do. We want to give you great housing needs. This is our goal. Our goal is to provide clean housing to you so that you stay a minimum of 3 years unless you're purchasing a house. And then also walk through the useful life of everything that's in that apartment that they're going to be staying in and what we expect from them. It starts to weed out the people that would mess up your place, right? And so here goes a couple things, like even the reasonable wear and tear. Hey, everything's in working order right now. It should be in working order when you leave. Our maintenance guarantee, letting them know that we are not mind readers. You have to submit your maintenance request online and we will get that taken care of. And then also letting them know that this is available even if they make a mistake in the unit, right? If they break a window, et cetera, we can help you out. It'll just be billed to you. And then this piece right here, talking about the repairs that we're not going to handle, was so important. And a lot of these are things that actually happen, i.e. the ham hock bone. This is something that actually happened in Louisville where a tenant's like, hey, I don't know why it's not flushing. We sent a repairman out and they had a bone in the plumbing. So needless to say, we build that back to the tenant, replace the whole toilet, et cetera. But when you have these conversations up front, it literally makes your life a lot easier. And while I was managing the rentals, which was between 3 to 15 units, I didn't have any issues. I only had one eviction, and that eviction was for a tenant that I inherited when I first bought the property that I didn't screen or put in there. I had to get them out before their lease. And then everybody else I put in there was pretty smooth. But this is just a snippet of what you could do from a long-term rental standpoint.
I actually found the website that I use and was able to see. It's called My Smart Move.
My Smart Move. And it works through somebody's credit check?
Yes, so it does a background and a credit check, and you can actually email it to them and have them purchase it. So you don't have to purchase it for each client. You can bill it to them. Once they pay, it'll give you the details. Like this particular person, her card didn't go through to process the payment, so she never able to get the property because her card would never go through. So it's kind of,
if she can't pay for the credit check, which is like $30 or $40, then we don't need her in the house. Let's skip over that one. Go to the next. Alright, coming back to you. So you mentioned Airbnb. Welcome to the game. I've been in the game since April, but Marcus has been crushing it, I believe, for over a year. Have you guys heard of or used a HELOC before?
yes, that the property that I told you, we did the mortgage, trying to sell the mortgage note. Me and my mother, we purchased the property all out. It was 30 grand cash, but it was valued at about $70,000. Being that the property was completely paid off, we were able to go to the and request a line of credit, a home equity line of credit. That's the word HELOC, based on the value of the house. And I believe it was 75 or 80% of the value of the house. So immediately after paying our $30,000 to purchase a house, we put a renter in there who we was hoping was going to pay back this loan that we just took out, basically creating a mortgage on the house and being able to take that immediate cash, pay ourselves back, and then have more equity to invest somewhere else.
And this is another major benefit of real estate. And the reason I wanted to bring that up, thank you, Marcus, that was an awesome explanation, is I've never ventured into the space. Over the last 6 years, I've just left the properties as they are. I'm like, hey, I'm not going to do it. But then I was talking to one of my guys up in Philly, and he did it a couple months ago, and he's purchasing another property. He's like, yeah, it was the easiest process ever. So I was like, you know what, let me do that. And it allows you to tap into the equity of your property and still own the property and just use that money whenever you need to. So I actually just got approved today for a home equity line of credit on the property I'm living in today. Like, so one of the things you mentioned earlier, Francesco, the market's been going crazy. And it's true, it has. Like, this is unprecedented. I don't know when it's going to stop, probably not within the next year in all reality, but the property I purchased, right? It's a single family with an in-law suite. I bought it for $670 in February, right? And again, the way I bought it is because it has the in-law suite that's bringing in about $2,500 a month, which offsets all that cost for me, right? And so it's appreciated to about 745, which is nuts. So
in a year?
In less than a year, 745. There's a house down the block that's a 4-bed, 4-bath. This is a 5-4, 4-bed, 4-bath that just sold for 725. And there's a 4-bed, 4-bath that was recently built 2 blocks down that sold for 800. So this one appreciated to 745. And I was able to tap into that line of credit for $100K. They just approved me for, because they can take, if you live in the property, they can take it to 100% of the value or 95% of the value, something like that. And they gave me $100K at 5% interest whenever I want to use that. And that $100K is usable for the next decade. They're not going to question me on it. I can use that anytime.
And you only pay use the interest on what you use. So use $100K, you don't pay back the interest on $100K. You pay back the interest on whatever's been used.
Exactly. And so what I plan to use it for, right, is I'm investing with a couple flippers. I think you met one of them in Atlanta, as well as up in, well, you met Julie, and I'm going to invest in one of his deals. We're talking through the details of it now, but the bank's charging me 5% to use that whenever I do. And I want to make at least 10% on that money, right? And so I'm going to do exactly what the bank does when we put monies into the savings or checkings account, right? They're paying you 0.01% interest, and they're investing your money and making X percent. And so I'm going to invest this money into real estate deals that'll pay at least a 15% return, so that on the back end, I can make 10% over and over of cash that I can put into other deals. So that's what I plan to do with the home equity line of credit. But it's just another benefit of getting into the game, whether the market's going up, going down, or staying even. There's just so much that you can do. And this is just another tool that's in your belt. If you've ever played the game Monopoly, it really is like that. Like, it's definitely like that. You got to own the properties to be able to make these moves. I'm kind of disappointed Tyreek couldn't get on, man. He because we were messaging back and forth. He hit me up on IG a couple weeks ago, and we were messaging back and forth. And he's trying to get up and running on the Airbnbs. And I was like, hey, you got to join. He was supposed to join last week. That's one of the people I wanted you to talk to, Marcus. But we'll see if he's able to get back on at some point. Francesco, did that make sense as an explanation for the HELOC?
That made perfect sense, bro. Like, wow. That's so, hearing these kind of stories is very motivating. And especially for a person that isn't really that experienced when it comes to business. I mean, we all started from somewhere, right? It's not like you both just woke up out of nowhere and was like, all right, time to get this money. We all started from ground zero. So it's just really admirable to be in, this space, acquiring this knowledge for free. I honestly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Marcus, you mentioned you're getting ready to expand into another B&B. What's your goals for 2022, man? What's it looking like?
So the goal for 2020, I want to do 5 to 6 more apartment unit Airbnbs. I want to try to cap it at about 10. My friend is connected with some people who are looking to basically throw their money into something that's going to make them passive income. So we're looking to grow that into an Airbnb in a box. We'll grab the units for you. We'll manage the units for you. We may even furnish the units for you for a flat fee up front. For that flat fee up front, I can guarantee you $1,000, $1,500 a month, or whatever it is, whatever that amount is, but I'll continue to manage it for a fee. So whether you want the unit or not, we'll continue to hold the unit and make whatever thousands of dollars a month it'll make, or you can pay us a large lump sum up front to take it over from us. And we'll continue to manage it. You'll see some of that stuff on the call. We're kind of talking through it, trying to figure out, but basically kind of create a business where for entrepreneurs, where I'll go find the unit for you. I'll furnish the unit for you, or I'll give you a fully furnished unit for a larger cost, but smaller cost up front. I'll find it, furnish it, and manage it for you.
That is an interesting model. And we're literally talking through something similar, except we're going to be buying some flips and having it purchased basically upfront, where you don't have to go through a bank initially. You put the 10% down payment on a beat up house, and then we would go and flip it, and there's money on the back end. But when you look at that, how do you mitigate for risk? Like if somebody puts a major down payment down, say 10K, I'm just making up numbers, for a unit, and then that unit gets busted, or I know it hasn't happened yet, but that unit gets busted, how does that person get made whole?
Well, that's kind of what we're talking through now. We're looking to do something like a balloon payment to basically say, look, our initial goal, we're going in to make sure that you're paid off. You'll be paid off in 2 to 3 months. So your initial 10K investment, we're not taking any profit. We're not going to take anything from it. We're going to make sure you're paid off. Once you're paid off, it goes into a balloon situation where then it'll swap to a 50-50 partnership, an 80-20 management split, or whatever those numbers look like. We're trying to figure that part out, what makes financial sense for people. And I'm actually running the numbers on my Airbnbs because we talked it through, and you'll see on the Zoom call, when we talked it through, it didn't make sense. So I had to kind of run the numbers, because essentially Airbnbs don't make a lot of money. So it's hard to involve a lot of people and make splits when you're making a profit of $1,000, maybe $1,500 a month.
That's the piece. When you guys are working through this, that's the piece that I struggle with as well. It's okay to not make a whole lot on one unit, or if you own the property, because then you're getting that appreciation that's going up. And that's kind of the value that we're going to sell, which is, hey, you own the property. But as you work through these models, please keep me in mind, man. I would love to invest in something like that. And you're specifically trying to do it for apartments, or are you also looking to do it for a property if you were to buy a property?
Okay, we'll definitely keep you plugged in. Tell me how, once I send you the information, tell me how interested you are, and we can all sit down and talk.
Yeah.
And see how we can plug in together, because maybe you can bring in that missing piece that we're missing, because we're running through figuring out percentages and figuring out what makes sense, whether we're going to do a guarantee of, we'll guarantee you $1,000, $1,500 a month until you're paid off. Once you're paid off, you'll go into a split model with us, where you'll split the revenue based on whatever percentage we choose.
And you're looking specifically to do this with apartments, right? Not anything else.
Right now.
Okay. Yeah, we definitely got to connect after this. I like that, man. That's pretty cool. Airbnb in a box.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Earlier I don't know if you guys noticed, but this progress bar just went up a little bit. Was able to successfully sell the first, or buy a house as a real estate agent. So again, I am a realtor in Atlanta. I am investor friendly. Thank you very much. If you know anybody that's looking for some real estate or wants to talk, please feel free to hit me up. My goals are to, by the end of 2024, partner as a realtor on buying or selling side for 136 deals. So one down, 135 more to go. We're going to keep that momentum going. So I'm excited about that. Francesco.
Can I ask why 136? That's such an exact number. Is it connected with your birthday or something?
No. So
that's the most.
So it's really a number, right? As an agent, you make 3% of any buy and sell. And by the end of 2024, my goal is to move into full-time real estate. I didn't just jump in because I know it takes about 2 years to start building your real estate agent business. And I want to continue investing and get financially free with that. And so the 136 number equates to, if you sell a house on average for 250K, which really they're higher than that in Atlanta now, but I just wanted to be conservative, right, you will hit $1 million made in that time frame. So 136 deals with an average of 250K will mean $1 million in commission. So if you split that up, that's about 500K per year, which at that point, I'd feel comfortable walking away. Really slightly before that, you aim for the stars, and if you land on the moon, you should be okay.
Yes, I love it, man. And I especially love the name too. You know what I'm
Come on now.
We're
trying. We're trying, man.
Yes. I love it, man. That's awesome. So as a realtor, can you all do direct deals outside the state? With it, like, you know what I'm saying? Can you be my realtor to get a spot out here? Like, is it,
no,
how does that work?
I can refer somebody if I knew somebody out that way, but I currently do not. So I think that the guy that you're going through is a great option, especially if he knows that this is a good realtor out. But if I refer somebody to, like, if you were investing in Louisville, I've got the agent for you. I'd refer you, and then I'd get a referral fee. But for me to close these deals, it has to be in the state of Georgia.
Oh, that's how it works.
So I have a quick question for you. I know there's not a lot of time before the shuts off, but how does that affect you as now being a licensed realtor and being an investor? I know you have to disclose being a realtor. Do you think that's going to help or hinder you?
So I look at it, I'm pretty positive, right? So for some people, they look at as if it hurts you, because now if you found a deal that this house is worth 200K, but you get them to agree to 100K, you could go buy that deal. It's like, man, I can get this for a 100K discount. But now as an agent, I have to disclose, hey, if you were to list this on the market and do this, that, and the other, you could sell it for twice as much as I can offer you. That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is now I have more tools in my toolbox. I actually just started sending out, I got these business cards. You can't really see it. It's made of metal, right? And people don't throw that away. And I have this little card and these little envelopes that you really can't see. I'm going to read it to you. I'm an investor and realtor in and around Atlanta, and I would like to give you an offer to purchase your home as is or list your home for top dollar in the market. The QR code below will provide more background info. Please call or text if you would like to move forward. So I've been putting messages out to some of the houses that I've been looking at, and now I've got two ways that I can attack it. Hey, one, I can give you a cash offer as is, and I can write the check now because I got a HELOC. Or two, if you really want to get that top dollar, I can show you, hey, if we update this, if we change that, if you're okay with people coming in for an open house, we can list this on the market and get that top dollar. So that's kind of how I've been able to do it.
Amazing, man. I'm happy for you. I wanted to say something about the background, but I was like, let me wait for you to do the grand finale.
What you got?
I love it, bro. I love it. I mean, keep doing what you're doing, man. And it's awesome how you're actually providing the community with just free education. Rather than, for instance, we have this whole crypto thing going on. People be doing all these crypto scams, like, dude, do my course now and you can get so-and-so. It's like,
not signing up for any courses. All right. And that was the episode with the Mastermind group. Again, I truly want to just thank you so much for your support. If you like this episode, please leave us a rating, a review, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button because it helps get our message out there. We really want to hear from you. We're trying to refine and create a podcast that's going to be impactful in your life and answer the questions needed to help you on the journey to financial freedom. Until next time, be safe and keep chasing. See you guys.